My work is in a place of profound quiet, a hospice where people are living with a serious illness called cancer. My role is simple. I sit with them in their rooms. I listen to their stories day after day. When I first started, the job felt overwhelmingly difficult. I was afraid of the sadness that hung in the air. I never knew the right thing to say to people who were so sick. The rooms often felt heavy with sorrow, and the silence was deafening. I felt like an intruder, a person who didn't belong in such a sacred space. I considered quitting more times than I can count. Then I met an elderly gentleman named Mr. Harrison. He was in a small, tidy room with a single large window that let in the afternoon sun. I entered his room hesitantly. "Hello, Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I had no idea what to say next, so I just stood there awkwardly. Mr. Harrison offered me a gentle, weary smile. He had no interest in discussing his illness. Instead, he wanted to talk about fishing. He told me incredible stories of giant fish he had caught and the brilliant blue water of the great lake he loved. I just sat on the chair by his bed and listened. This was my first, most important lesson. My job wasn't to talk, to offer advice, or to fill the silence. My primary duty was to listen with my full attention. It was as simple and as profound as that. That first day with Mr. Harrison changed everything for me. I decided not to quit. I wanted to hear more of his stories. So I returned every day to listen to Mr. Harrison's fishing tales. We developed a genuine friendship, and it was a comforting feeling. My next encounter was with a young woman named Chloe in a room down the same quiet hallway. She was also very sick, but Chloe radiated life. She had a smile that could light up the entire floor. Her room was not a place of sadness. It was a burst of vibrant color. She was a painter, and she created beautiful pictures of flowers and bright suns, all while sitting up in her hospital bed. One day, she looked at me and said, "Liam, I have an illness, but I am not my illness. I am still a painter." Her words struck me with their power. She taught me a monumental lesson: to find joy in the present moment. Not in memories of yesterday or hopes for tomorrow, but in the small, simple things of today. After meeting Chloe, my perspective on the other patients shifted. I no longer saw just a sick person. I saw a gardener, a teacher, a mother. We would talk and even laugh together. She would paint her brilliant canvases, and I would watch, mesmerized. I learned so much from her about what it truly means to live. But then came a difficult day. I went to visit Mr. Harrison, and he had taken a turn for the worse. He was too weak to speak of fishing anymore. The room was now filled with that heavy silence I had feared at the beginning. I simply sat by his bed and held his hand. There were no more stories left to tell. A few days later, a nurse gently gave me the news that Mr. Harrison had passed away. My first friend in this place was gone. A deep sadness washed over me, and I felt as though I had failed him. I couldn't help him. I couldn't make him better. I felt completely lost. The nurse, a kind and observant woman, saw the sorrow on my face. She told me, "You didn't fail him, Liam. You were his friend. You gave him good days by listening to his stories. That was a wonderful gift for him." My next patient was a significant challenge. He was a teenage boy named Ethan, and he was as sick as he was angry. He wanted nothing to do with me. Whenever I entered his room, he would turn his face to the wall and mutter, "Go away." But I didn't go away. I came back every single day. I would bring a book and sit quietly in a chair across the room. I made no attempt to talk to him. I just sat there hoping to show him that I wasn't afraid of his anger. For many days, the room was completely silent, but I persisted. One afternoon, he finally broke the silence. "What's that book about?" he asked, his voice rough. I was stunned. We began to talk. We never discussed the hospital or his illness. We talked about comic books and video games. We discovered we had common interests. Slowly, day by day, a friendship began to grow. He started to trust me, telling me about his school and his friends. Then some incredible news arrived. Ethan's treatment was working. The doctors were optimistic about his future. He began to smile again, a genuine, hopeful smile. He even told me a joke. The angry boy was disappearing, and my new friend was emerging. He started talking about his plans, about going to art school to become a graphic artist. Hope is a powerful force. I saw it shining in his eyes, a brilliant light in what had been a dark place. While my work at the hospital was my focus, I had my own life outside its walls. In 1 month, my personal life hit a rough patch. I had a major fight with my brother over money. We were both stubborn and angry, and we stopped speaking to each other. I felt stressed and unhappy, and my own seemingly small problem felt enormous. I wanted to hold on to my anger. But then, at work, I thought about Chloe and her joyful paintings. I thought about Ethan and his courageous fight. I thought about Mr. Harrison and his happy memories of the lake. They all faced immense, real problems, problems of life itself. My problem was about money. They handled their struggles with such grace and courage, finding joy and hope in the most difficult of times. I felt ashamed of my own anger. I realized I had learned from them. I needed to apply their lessons to my own life. I needed to be brave. That evening, I picked up my phone and called my brother. I told him I was sorry. He immediately said he was sorry, too. We talked for a long time and resolved our issue. It wasn't as hard as I had made it out to be. My patience had given me the strength to do it. Our relationship improved after that call. We became closer and learned to listen to each other better. I realized then that my job was more than just a job. The hospital had become my school, and the patients were my teachers. They were teaching me how to live a better, more meaningful life. They taught me what is truly important is not money, but love and connection. A few months later, a wonderful day arrived. Ethan was finally well enough to go home. He was strong and healthy again. His family was overcome with happiness, laughing and crying all at once. The room was filled with pure joy. Before he left, Ethan handed me a gift. It was a drawing he had made of the two of us playing cards. I hung it on the wall in my small office. I look at it every day, and it reminds me of Ethan and of hope. He said, "Thank you, Liam. Thank you for just sitting with me." We shook hands. He was no longer a boy. He was a strong young man. A few weeks after that, a new volunteer started at the hospice. He was a young man who looked just as scared and lost as I had on my first day. He stood in the quiet hallway, unsure of what to do or say. I remembered my own fear. I remembered Mr. Harrison and his fishing stories. I knew I could help. I walked over to him and offered a warm smile. "My name is Liam," I said. "It's hard at first, I can show you." The relief on his face was immediate. I then told him the most important rule of this special job. I said, "Your job is not to talk so much. Your job is to listen with your heart." He nodded, understanding. I was the teacher now, passing on the invaluable lessons my patients had taught me. I am no longer scared of this place. The white walls aren't sad to me anymore. They are full of stories, stories of fear and hope, of pain and of powerful, enduring love. My life is here.